speak to you. We spoke earlier in the day, but it's good that you're live right now. And Swati, in detail, first up, I want to know what really happened. Because it's hard to believe that on the streets of Delhi, the same lady, you know, who's really been fighting for justice, you've been doing a lot of women's safety campaigns and, you know, taking a lot of these surprise visits. When you tweeted about this, Swati, I actually had to check this twice, that, you know, this is you. This is Swati saying, oh God, this also happened with me, Swati.
So yesterday night, I was doing an inspection. I wanted to see what is it that a woman faces when she is alone on the streets of Delhi at night. And I just wanted to go through it myself in order to really ascertain what is the fact of the matter, and all these tall claims that we hear all governments making about how secure Delhi is becoming. I just wanted to experience it firsthand for myself. And I was standing at Ames bus stop, just opposite on the road, opposite to Ames bus stop, and I saw that cars after cars were stopping. Some made weird gestures, some wanted me to sit in the car, some were just stopping by and in a predatory manner just looking at me and waiting and, you know, probably just wanting to attack and just go away. There were certain cars who just stopped, like even for 20 minutes with their headlights on right at me, just waiting to probably pounce. And then this car comes up, which was a white Baleno, and it just, the driver stops right next to me and he asks me whether he can drop me somewhere. And when I say that I don't want his help, my relatives are coming, he keeps pestering, he keeps forcing me, and then in anger he drives off, only to come back again to the same spot where I was standing after 10 minutes, and this time with full force he was pestering, he was going on saying that why don't you come, I'll drop you, I'll drop you. And then on top of it, when I reject his advances, he starts making extremely vulgar and lewd gestures at me. When I try and catch hold of him, my hand got stuck in the car because he rolled up the window immediately, and despite knowing the fact that my hand was right near him in the car, he decides to just push the accelerator at full speed, and the car went forward and I was dragged for several meters and I was screaming at the top of my lungs. My team was also there because I was out on an inspection. They ran, and then when this man realized that, okay, there are other people also there with this woman and she's not alone, he decides to free me and just run away. And the first thought that happened to me in that moment, I just stood there and I really felt that, my God, I got saved because I could have been another Anjali. And exactly this had happened to her, and this probably would have happened to me. And by the grace of God, I got saved.
Now, you know, Swati, a lot of our viewers who are watching this and, you know, through the day as they've seen your story here, they also want to know what time this was. Did you try to raise an alarm? Was any PCR spotted? Because usually, you know, like I said, Swati, what's extremely important about this location and what's even worse then is that this is a nicely lit road. It's a very broad road. It's very well lit. There is, you know, considerable amount of traffic that you actually see on these roads. There are people who keep going up and down. And, you know, as far as I know, I've seen good amount of police presence. But how is it that yesterday night, there was no PCR, there were no guards anywhere around, Swati?
So it was 3 a.m., around 3 a.m. and there was absolutely no PCR. I was standing there for a good 15 to 20 minutes. There was no PCR. And on top of it, I just want to understand, how is it that these men are able to get completely drunk and drink and drive on the streets and roads of Delhi? This was the main road.
Drive, yes.
Was there no picket before where he could have been cross-checked? How is it that that is happening? That's exactly what happened with Anjali. Because when this man was finally caught by the police and I was asked to identify him, he said that yes, I am drunk when I asked him, because he was reeking of alcohol. And we saw in his car how a glass was put in which there was still alcohol. There were bottles, there were all kinds of eating materials. He was having a party and nobody ever stopped him. So the big question is that how is it that these men are able to get so drunk and just drive on the streets of Delhi Delhi. There was no PCR until I made the call. So first when I made the call, the 112 number, for 2 times it got disconnected. My immediate thought was, what if a woman doesn't have a second chance? How can the 112 number get disconnected? So first was that. Then after that, the 112 number, when I called again, but before I called, there was a Garud vehicle of the Delhi police which passed by, and that gentleman helped me. I introduced myself and I told him my position, and immediately help was provided. And then a lot of officers, DCP, ACP, everybody came in because the Delhi Commission for Women chief was involved. But the first question, and the lingering question that was occurring in my mind, was what would have happened if it was not the DCW chief? Because you remember in Anjali's case, at 2:22, the first call to the PCR was made by the eyewitness, and 4:30 they reached. So if 2 hours can be taken for Anjali, maybe if I was not Swati Maliwal, if I was not DCW chief, I really don't know what would have happened.
You are right. You are absolutely right. You know, Swati, this is exactly the issue. You know, any common citizen today who's watching this report, reading what happened with you, and we just played out the first images of this man who, in an inebriated state, was making those lewd gestures. He has the guts, the audacity, you know, Swati, to, when your hand gets stuck there, he's wanting to drive you through. And because, you know, thank God for that, that you had your team members around, they actually could come to your rescue. Now, I want to know, Swati, will nothing change? You know, any time that you have an instance like this, we'll come, we'll talk, there'll be so much outrage. The police will say, you know, we'll increase this, we'll do this, but nothing ever changes, Swati. So should we be prepared? Is this the new normal? That anyone on the streets of Delhi, any lady, you have to be prepared to fend for yourself?
I've been receiving hundreds of calls since I went public with what exactly happened, and there are girls narrating similar incidents and even more difficult situations that they faced because they were standing alone at one of the streets or one of the main roads of Delhi. So it's really unfortunate where we are, and I've been thinking since yesterday this happened. I almost lost my life. I almost lost my limbs, and it was a scary moment. And I thought that even after this, what is it that it is going to change? Because you see, I've sat on 2 hunger strikes. One lasted for 10 days. At the end of the 10th day, my demand was even met by the government of India. They passed a new ordinance which said that the rapists of children will be given the strongest punishments. I again sat on a hunger strike an year and a half later, which lasted for 13 days. And in that, a lot of announcements were made by the government how to implement the laws better. And now again today I put my life at stake. But what is it? Yesterday it was Anjali, today it is me. I really don't know when is it going to stop and who is going to be the next girl who's going to be dragged on the streets of Delhi. I really feel that this can change, and I really feel that everybody gets together, we can bring about a change. I think what is lacking is that people are not scared in this country. People feel that they can get away with anything. If a woman is alone, there is this predatory tactic that they are applying, and people feel that nothing will happen to them. I think that needs to change. There needs to be certainty and swiftness of punishment. There needs to be a system which scares such criminals away. Right now, okay, the police came, but this man was not scared. There were trucks that were stopping by. Thankfully, I have everything recorded. Everything was because my team was also recording. So I have everything on record, and that is why probably the police has taken such strong action. But you see, a woman alone actually standing, how will she record this, and how will she make sure that justice is served? So it's a very unfortunate situation, and we are waiting for the next case to happen and then the next case to happen. And unfortunately, I really believe that things can change. I really believe that the central government and the Delhi government should sit together and strategize and bring about a change. And I from the bottom of my heart, because I've worked with the police, I've worked with the Delhi government, I've worked with the central government on these issues, I feel that if there is better coordination, a lot can change.
You know, Swati, though you're being very, very optimistic, and hats off to you for doing that, you know, but like I said, anyone who lives in the national capital, who's out on the roads, you know, working, making her ends meet, you know, traveling on a DTC bus, on the metro, driving through the national capital, everyone, you know, everyone fears what you've gone through. A lot of us have gone through this. We go through this almost on a daily basis, and we are like, you have to deal with this. If you're, you know, living in the national capital, you have to, because a lot of times, you know, PCR vans also do not come to help. And like you said, the response of the police in your case possibly was different because they realized that you are the Swati Maliwal, you are the DCW chief. You know, in the Anjali's case, I mean, just think of this. After how many days has the police added the murder charges? 302. After relentless campaigns. Otherwise, the police, you know, Swati, we are all aware, wanted to hush up the entire case. 2012, Nirbhaya dies. And 2022, you have Anjali who dies. And in this period of, you know, a decade or more, don't know how many Nirbhayas, how many Anjalis have lost their lives. But nothing changes, Swati. Nothing changes, actually.
No, I totally agree with you. And in fact, in this case also, the Delhi police was able to find that man despite a time lag of almost half an hour, which they took in coming and reaching me. Within half an hour, they were able to find this person. So he must have gone away for almost an hour, and still they were able to trace him. So if the police wants to bring about a change, there can be a change. Yesterday when I was inspecting, I even went to Kanjhavla, I went to Mundka, I went to Munirka, and I saw in Kanjhavla that at every other step there was a police officer. That's because 11 officers were suspended there recently of the PCR. But how many officers do you need to suspend in the entire state of Delhi? Because you see, in other areas, I did not see any PCR van. If I'm standing at a particular place for 20 minutes, over 20 minutes, in the state of Delhi, which is a main road, and one knows the condition that Delhi is in, I would definitely expect and want that a police officer could have come and approached me and just asked me, what is wrong? How can I help you? But that is not happening. And even bigger issue is, why is it that these drunk men are allowed to just drink and drive? And what the hell is police doing? Because you see, 5 men get drunk on New Year's Eve and we have an Anjali. 1 man gets completely sloshed and you have a Swati. And again, how many other women, how many cases will happen when the system will rise? I genuinely believe it can change. But really in the past 7 years, we have handled 1 lakh cases in 6 years. Before me, for 8 years, only 1 case was handled in the commission. We are working non-stop day and night and with great risk at ourselves. But every day, I wake up with this question, what do I do more for the system to change?
The system has to change, Swati. I think you've put that out very well. And only because, you know, we've run out of time, but like you said, and that's the news story, you know, that if the police wants, they can do that. The reason why you have VVIP security. You know, when you have a will, you can do that. But Swati's case, again, ladies and gentlemen, is a grim reminder that unless and until we as citizens keep raising our voice and tell the elected representatives that you cannot be taking women's safety for granted, you cannot just assume that women is a vote bank and forget about it. If it is Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, please go out and ensure that your police is available. They are there to be seen. There are no more Anjalis, there are no more Nirbhayas. And Swati, thank God that, you know, you are safe. And we wish you well, Swati. Thank you that you've spoken to us. We've completely run out of time. But like I said, Dr. Kiran Bedi and Swati there both have spoken to us and helped us understand what really has happened, what needs to be done. Republic will keep its focus on that story. On the other side, back with much more.